Being recorded.
Oh, my name is Stephanie Galvin Riley, and I am the Assistant Director of the New York State Home Program. And today, you guys are going to hear about our new application funding round. But before we start, we had a little visitor that stopped in that just wanted to say hello to everyone. That's Jason Purvis, and he is the Vice President of Federal Programs here at OCR. And he oversees the CDBG program and the home program. So, Jason.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for participating in this webinar. Stephanie is going to get into some of the details in terms of tips and application processes in a little bit. I just wanted to go over some basic information and just offer some immediate technical assistance to everybody that might be putting in an application. We're going to have about $6 million available this round for 3 separate activities: owner-occupied rehab, manufactured housing replacement, and then home buyer down payment assistance. It's important to know that these applications are due on December 18th at 4 o'clock, and there's no extension to that. The system will shut down at 4 o'clock. So if you're not able to get your application in by then, you will not be able to be considered for funding. We anticipated quite a competitive round this time, so I encourage you to take notes here in the items that Stephanie is going to go over in the next few minutes. Ask us questions. We want to help you. Of course, we can't write your application for you. We can't tell you what to put in an application, but we can help you with the technical aspects or forms or attachments or something like that. If there's questions on that, please do not hesitate to give us a call if you run into issues as you work through an application. You will see that if you're a past awardee, you will see something a little new in the coming rounds. We are taking an active approach to making sure that we are staying in constant contact with our awardees. Our program managers and our staff and our directors will be reaching out to you if you're awarded on a monthly basis and just trying to talk through next steps and progress. We encourage you to participate with those. It's one way so that both you as an awardee of the program and us as the administrators and oversight with HUD can make sure that everything's running smoothly and that we don't run into an issue at the end of a contract that should have been identified early on. Again, thank you for participating. Any questions, feel free to, I believe my email is on the slide that's coming up. Any questions at all, feel free to reach out to myself, Stephanie, or the staff, and we look forward to reviewing your applications towards the end of the year. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. So on the next slide, as Jason said, that's his email address that he can be contacted at, along with our information for the home local program staff members. Myself, we have program managers Kaylin Fernari, Tom Weinheimer, and Sarah Bramer, some new names that you might see. And then our manager of finance and compliance is Alex Smith. And all of the information that we're talking about today on the home program is available on the New York State Homes and Community Renewal website. For those of you that have not been involved in a while, you can see that the website has changed a little bit. So make note of that on the bottom screen. So to give a quick program overview for those of you that are new to the home program, and a reminder for those second and third and fourth timers, New York State Home and Community Renewal receives an allocation from the Home Investment Partnership Program, which are funds that are provided to assist in acquiring, rehabbing, or newly building single-family affordable housing for rent, home ownership, or providing direct rental assistance to low-income homeowners, or people, I should say, households. It's the largest federal block grant to state and local governments designed exclusively to create affordable housing for low-income households. So New York State is what's called a HUD designated participating jurisdiction, or as we call it for short, a home PJ. And New York State receives an allocation of approximately $18 to $27 million annually to fund residential affordable housing activities for homeowners, home buyers, and renters. And the home program is designated specifically to assist those making less than 80% of AMI, which stands for Area Median Income. And the Housing Trust Fund Corporation administers these funds on behalf of HCR. And if awarded funds, your contract will be with HTFC. And the Office of Community Renewal, our office here, is the office which manages the program under the direction of HTFC. So in this year's round, we have $6 million in home program funds available for eligible applicants, which we'll get to who's eligible in a moment. A maximum of 2 applications per applicant are allowed, 1 activity per application or per award. So in other words, no 2 activities can be combined into 1 contract. And it has to follow the administrative plans which lay out what's allowed for each activity. In the awards, up to 13% of the total award can be assigned to project delivery in your budgets, and up to 5% of the total award is allotted or can be allotted for administrative costs. So for the timeline, the application deadline, as Jason said, is Wednesday, December 18th, 2019. 4 o'clock is the cutoff. Please don't call at or after 4 or quarter of 4. Every year we get calls right around the 4 o'clock time. And in fairness to everybody, the cutoff time is 4 o'clock, my clock. So it should be maybe, personally for you guys, maybe 3:50. And I believe there was a little bit of a discrepancy in some of the materials that went out, the NOFA and maybe the RFP. Go by the December 18th date. I think some of the materials said Friday, December 18th, but it's a Wednesday, so it's December 18th at 4 p.m. I expect to have award announcements in March of 2020, so it takes us that long to get the application scored and reviewed by management teams, executive management, and then goes to the March board meeting. And contract execution would be in April of 2020, and Tier 1 programmatic clearance, or the authority to use grant funds, would be 12 weeks generally from the time of awards, so sometime in June 2020. Those are target dates. If things go awry, if we get less applications, it might be quicker. If we get more applications, it might be longer, but that's just your general timeline. So eligible applicants, units of local government, which are cities, towns, counties, and villages that are not federal home program participating jurisdictions, or PJs, meaning areas that receive their own allocations of funds directly from the federal government. Non-for-profit corporations and housing authorities are eligible applicants. We don't have any activities specific to CHOTOs this round. Awardees of home funds, we call them LPAs, or local program administrators. And especially the non-for-profits, they have to be in existence, providing recent and relevant residential housing services to the community for at least 1 year prior to application. And they must demonstrate, or all applicants must demonstrate, the local market need for the activity or program to be performed in the service area, and also the capacity to use the amount of funds requested within that 2-year contract term. So that those 2 points are very important. One thing to note is that some home program funds can be used for activities that are located in a home PJ. So if your service area is in a home PJ territory, that is possible to coordinate with the other PJ that receives the home allocation. So the preference is for that not-for-profit applicant to directly or collaborate with or partner with the home PJ, but the home PJ itself cannot be the applicant. And if there are any questions regarding that, staff can assist everyone to make sure the proper coordination and subsidy layering is used. So next up, we have a description of the 3 activities that are being allowed that Jason went over in this RFP. The first one is owner-occupied rehab with or without rental units. So what that is the repair or rehabilitation of an owner-occupied single family, which single family in the home program is 1 to 4 unit building. So it's single family, or for the rehab of a 2 to 4 unit property, which would include the homeowner unit and additionally rehabbing the rental units. So you must meet New York State and or local code upon completion of the construction activities. The maximum award that you can ask for is $450,000, and the max per unit is $50,000. Next, we have manufactured housing replacement, and that is money to assist a homeowner to demolish and dispose of a substandard manufactured home and replace it with a new manufactured home. The unit has to be owned by the homeowner in disrepair and on land owned by the homeowner. We have been able to do co-ops, but no park rentals, and take special note that there are permanent foundation requirements in the admin plans that you should take note of. The maximum award for these programs is $600,000, and the maximum per unit amount is $100,000. Going back, because I want to make sure I didn't miss anything, as far as the owner-occupied rehab with or without rentals, I just wanted to point out that if you're doing rental units, there are specific rental unit requirements detailed in the admin plans. So any units assisted with home funds have to comply. In certain situations, it's possible to what we call cost allocate home funds to specific units, but our program prefers the whole house approach where all units are rehabbed. So it would be the owner's unit and the rental units. So next up, we have the homebuyer purchase assistance or down payment assistance with or without housing rehab. And this also, although it's not in here, can also be with or without rentals. So what down payment assistance is just what it sounds like. It's money for closing costs or to purchase a single family home, non-home assisted unit, meaning it has no money to assist it through home previously, or a newly constructed home. And the home must meet code at the time of purchase if you're not doing rehab. If you are doing rehab on the unit, then the home must meet code after the rehabilitation is done. Also, in the admin plans, it does allow for the purchase of a 2-family home or a home with rental units, 1 to 4 family units. For down payment assistance without rehab, the maximum award for the program is $400,000. The per unit amount is $80,000. And then if you're going to include rehab, the maximum award is $600,000 with still an $80,000 per unit maximum. And right now there was an issue we had with purchase of co-ops. Co-ops are not currently allowed. We're working with legal to work out the proper lien instruments or security instruments to have with co-ops. But at this point in time, we don't have that worked out. So just a note that we're not allowed to do co-ops quite yet. All of this information is in the RFP, which will show you where that's located on the home program website. And some of the information is also in the NOFA, and it is also reiterated in the admin plans. So the contract term for the home program is 2 years from the execution date of the contract. So you sign the contract, it gets sent in to us for our Crystal Loeffler or Jason to sign. And once they sign it, that starts the 2-year clock from ticking. It is important that you only apply for funds that you can expend within that 2-year time frame because of HUD expenditure and commitment requirements. Requests for extensions will be limited or not approved, and we've been adhering to that. In the recent rounds, we've tried to be flexible where we could, but we're at the point now where HUD rules have changed and we are not able to always be flexible. And also to keep our portfolio under control, we have to adhere to that 2-year time frame, deobligate the funds, and then put them out in future rounds or give them to other contracts that are spending. Let's see. One thing that is looked at when scoring is capacity and prior experience. So especially if you have any type of OCR funds, whether it be AHC, Main Street, Access, Restore, CDBG, that's subject to an evaluation under the home program application. So your funding history, prior program administration and performance, and organizational capacity come into play there. So if you have any outstanding issues with any other programs, you have to resolve those prior to applying, or else that might prohibit you from being funded in this round. Additionally, we look at specifically if you've had home funds within the past 3 years, there are questions in the admin plan question documents that ask if you've been awarded funds, if you've had more than 25% of your award deobligated, explain the situation. So we are looking at that when scoring these current documents. Budget policy and budget worksheets. So you're going to refer to both the policy and the worksheets, which are Excel worksheets that you guys fill out for instructions and the requirements when creating the program budget. The program budget should be prepared first and then used for the CDOL entries. And the CDOL and budget documents shouldn't contradict each other. So everything has to coincide. And the budget categories that we have are project cost, project soft cost, project delivery, which as I stated before can be up to 13% of the total award, and administrative cost, which is 5% of the total award. And our program policy, our budget policy on our website goes into detail about what is covered under those different categories and what each category means. Bear with me. So I'm going to try to answer some questions that I can during the webinar, and this pertains to contract execution, so I'm going to slip this in here. The question is the contract executed after the 12-week environmental review is completed? And the answer to that is no. It's executed during that time. So you may have 1 or 2 months where you're waiting for the authority to use grant funds. During that time, you can't do anything like break ground, purchase properties, but you can do marketing and preparation for the program, so that should really not stop you from moving forward. You can look at applications and get them ready so that once you get the authority to use grant funds, you can move forward with actual work, like program work. You can't do anything that's choice limiting. So that would be actually starting rehab on a house or doing closing on a house for down payment assistance. But there are certain things you can do in preparation of that. New York State grants Gateway pre-qualification. All applicants are strongly encouraged to be pre-qualified through Grants Gateway. I know a lot of you are. If you're not, that is to your benefit. Next is other program requirements, so that's a huge list there. Basically, just wanted to bring your attention to the fact that there are several other federal program requirements, and these are all listed in the RFP and specifically gone over in the admin plans. So wanted to bring your attention to these. I'm not going to go over them specifically. The rating criteria. So you're graded on 100 points total. The specific points are in the RFP, and they're specific to the activity you're applying for. They differ a little bit, so I didn't want to put the points numbers on here. But basically, you look at, we look at average income level served for the area that you are proposing to do your project in, the number of persons with special needs targeted, the percent below the federal poverty, percent below federal poverty level in the service area, the number of people below federal poverty level, the age of the housing, the home ownership rate in the service area, and that's for the down payment assistance specifically, and the home ownership affordability index is also for the down payment assistance, leveraging, administrative plan responses to questions, and experience and prior performance. Hang on one second. I'm trying to look at questions at the same time, which probably isn't the best. So in the past, the scoring has changed a little bit from in the past. Leveraging score has, or points attributed to leveraging has gone down a little bit, and the points to experience and prior performance have gone up a little bit, along with the questions to the administrative plan responses. The first few items you really have very little influence over, so you know, the percent below the federal poverty level in the service area, it is what it is. The number of people, the age of the housing, the home ownership rate, it is what it is. It's based on statistics and data that you're required to pull. And the CDOL application instructions, which are very important, and I'll probably say that 3 or more times, that it tells you how to get those numbers. But where you have the ability to influence your score is with leveraging your admin plan responses to the questions, and experience and prior performance. That kind of is what it is, but that is something you have more control over. I would say, you know, the points, the more special needs targets you have, the more points you get. A lot of people go in for more points and then find that they can't meet that special needs target. We're going to probably be less willing to make adjustments to that further down the road. So if you know that you can't meet that requirement, don't put it in there. Same thing with average income level served. The lower the income level, the more points you get, but don't put it in there if you're only going to be asking for a waiver down the road, because that is not going to look favorable for you in your current contract and in your experience and prior performance when you go to apply for another grant. CDOL Online. As many of you know, this is our online application system, so everything has to be entered and uploaded through CDOL Online. You have to be aware of the registration form, so if your organization has not previously applied for funding, you have to submit a registration form. If you have used the CDOL system but you need to update your organization's security manager, you must submit a security manager registration form. Applications submitted through CDOL must be electronically certified by an authorized representative of the applicant's organization. The person who will certify the application must be set up in CDOL as a user. Don't wait until the last minute. Note the forms that must be mailed in. So in order to change things or add things, there are registration forms that have to be snail mailed in to a different department from ours. So I have no control over that. One of the big issues we've had in the past is people don't remember who is their electronic certification person, or they have to change their security registration, and that takes a while. So that is something you should look at first thing. So as soon as you start to get ready to apply, as in like now, you should check all of those and make sure all of your CDOL stuff is in order. So through CDOL application process, there are 5 steps. So you complete the exhibits, you validate those exhibits, you certify and submit the exhibits, you upload and submit the attachments, and you certify the attachments. And all of this is literally word for word, like step by step in the CDOL application instructions. So it's very important that you have those next to you while you're applying. So the CDOL system is broken down into exhibits. So there's 1 through 5. So it's the application summary, the program summary and finance plan, the needs statement and summary, relevant experience, and your budget. All of this should coincide with any additional attachments. So the attachments are listed here, but those are separate documents that you upload. So those are Word documents, Excel documents, but everything should kind of jive. So your budget in Exhibit 5 shouldn't contradict the budget in attachment number 2, for example. There are 7 possible attachments. There's only 2 that are required, attachment 1 and attachment 2. You should note that for attachment 3 and attachment 7, if you have leverage, so if you are saying you have, 50% leverage with your application, so you have other funds coming in, those funds have to be committed. So you need actual commitment letters in attachment 3. So for example, if you have a down payment assistance program, mortgages that the homeowners potentially could get is not considered leverage. We're looking for hard commitment of funds that decrease the amount of home funds that are needed. So leverage for a down payment assistance program might be, for example, other funds that the county is providing or that someone else is providing that also go towards down payment assistance, towards getting that homeowner that home, not just the mortgage. It's something that's tangible that will definitely write down the home costs. This is just an example, and this is all detailed, again, in the CDOL instructions. What's needed in order to count leverage, what's needed in order to count special needs population targets. You need uploads of supportive service agency commitments. So that's all spelled out. So one of the biggest areas that we have issues in is that people certify the applications, but they don't complete their applications. So the application is in progress when it's available for you to continue to work on. Once you've certified the applications, that means all the exhibits have been successfully completed. They've passed validation, meaning you've entered all the appropriate information, but those extra attachments still need to be uploaded and certified. So once you've certified it, a PDF of the exhibits will be generated and a pop-up window with a SHARS ID will show. So that might be misleading to you. So again, please read the CDOL application instructions because it will walk you through completing the application. When it's completed, that means that all the steps are done and it is successfully submitted, and it will show that it is actually submitted. And then if for some reason it shows terminated, it shows your application wasn't completed by the deadline, and when we close the CDOL system, it terminates the applications. So backing up to a question, the question is, do we have to write 2 different grants to provide down payment and or down payment and rehab? So no, I'm not clear on the question. So it's not 1 grant for down payment assistance, 1 grant for rehab. This is covered in the slides and in the RFP when you look up the down payment assistance. So 1 would be for down payment assistance only, and then the other 1 would be for down payment assistance and rehab as 1 application. So you wouldn't write 2 separate grants, 1 for rehab, 1 for down payment. I think that should answer the question. And also, if you read the administrative plans, which you would have to in order to apply, that would explain it as well a little bit more, but hopefully I've explained that. So this busy little flow chart I stole from CDBG. Charlie will have this in his webinar tomorrow. But the key here is we have a lot of programs or applications that come in and programs that are awarded that really kind of do this backwards. They apply for the grant first, and then they try to find a need for the program. So they're like, oh, we want to do manufactured home replacement. Well, that's really not the right way to do it, and that becomes evident once you try to run the program and it's not really going smoothly or working out. So you identify the need first. Don't apply and then try to create the need. Read the admin plan to be sure you know the regulations and requirements up front and that you can comply with them. We've also had a lot of groups come in and say, after they've been awarded, I didn't know I need to do that. I'm just throwing things out. I didn't know we needed a permanent foundation. I didn't know we needed code sign-off, depending on the activity. And clearly, it's written in the admin plan. That's something that you should have known and planned for during your application process. So once a need is identified, then you would do outreach to see if there was a demand for the assistance, developing a sufficient pool for eligibility and interest. You would reach out to other players to see if you can get other funding commitments. You would plan it out, identify community partners that you need, and design your program. Then the application is submitted, and it's either funded or not funded, basically. Some questions you might want to consider are there other committed and available funding sources to use toward the project? Are written commitments for these other funding sources needed? Is there a target area that would benefit most from the project, or would it be a county-wide, community-wide target area? And do you have the capacity to undertake the program, or will it require assistance from other partners or consultants? So planning ahead, and what I suggest the steps are in order in general. So you should review and verify CDOL registrations are set up and correct. Like I said in the previous slide, that's something that you should look at first, because that is something that a lot of people come in last minute to do, and I don't have control over that. That's done through a different department. I can't always ask that they take an email request. A lot of times it has to be sent in because they need original signatures. So that you should do first. Then you should go back and review all of the informational documents, which is the NOFA, the RFP, the CDOL application instructions, and note any requirements in there up front. So for example, you're going to, well, I'm getting to that. So, but you're going to need attachments. So funding commitment letters, if you're going to have leverage, MOUs or supportive service agency commitments or agreements, if you're going to say I'm servicing a specific target population. Otherwise, if you don't have those letters or commitments, you're going to get 0 points for that score for leverage or for target population. So know what you need up front instead of doing it as you go and then all of a sudden saying, oh my gosh, I have to go get funding commitment letters and I have 2 days left. Read the administrative plans for just the reason I said before. You have to know the requirements of the program if you're applying for it, because then once you start to run the program, you know, saying, oh, I didn't know that really isn't going to fly because everything should be covered in the admin plan. Then you should begin preparing the documents from the website, so the budgets and the answers to the administrative plan questions, which I'm going to hop to the website in a minute, but I don't want to do it quite yet. Then once you have, and those are the attachments, once you have all those ready, you would obtain the other attachments needed, like I just said, the commitment letters, the MOUs, and then you begin entering everything and uploading the documents in CDOL. So common deficiencies or lost points. Answers or information are not clear or create confusion for the person scoring your application. So responses to the admin plan questions, they don't answer the question or they include unnecessary information. Sometimes that makes it confusing when you're reviewing an application. Budget narratives, forms, numbers are not consistent between CDOL and the other forms, such as the budget form. Budget isn't feasible. Your schedule isn't realistic. Lack of firm commitments for leveraged funds. The local market in the area to be served doesn't justify the need for the program or project, and you haven't demonstrated the capacity to administer the program and spend the funds within 2 years. So not to beat a dead horse, but the CDOL instructions walk through all the requirements. For example, all sources of funds other than home must be formally committed or else they will not be counted and the applicant may lose scoring points. So that's listed in the instructions. Attachment 3 is required if other funds are used in the program or leverage will not get points. The MOU or service provider agreement for special populations is something that's required. And we generally will not go back and cure deficiencies. If something is unclear or it's not attached, we'll just assume you don't have it, didn't know about it, didn't read the instructions. So that doesn't bode well for your application. Helpful hints. As Jason said, ask for technical assistance. We can answer questions up through the application deadline of December 18th. After that, we'll be scoring applications, and also we cannot answer any questions after the cutoff date. So now would be the time to ask them. Read the administrative plan first so you know what you're applying for. Meet with your staff and program partners to discuss and determine how the program will be administered, because the how has to be answered in order to respond to the administrative plan questions. Demonstrating that there is a local market need for the program. The admin plan says that you have a half a page to describe the local market need, but you may have up to 2 pages to describe that because that might take a little bit more, so you can go ahead and use some more space for that. Just to note that the CDOL instructions are for the whole application as well. It's not just the CDOL. The first part, you might, they're long, so, but if you might be able to skip over the first part because that goes through the registration, if you need a security manager, so it could be misleading. Make sure you read through the table of contents for the instructions because you can skip to certain parts, and it does go through the requirements of the whole application. And you can submit questions to ocrinfo@nyshcr.org with 2019 home local application in the subject line. All grant materials are located here. I'm going to see if this will pop up. So hopefully program managers that are on the line, if you're not seeing our website, come in and let me know. But I've tried to pull up our website here. So when you click on that link, this brings up all of the documents. What you'll want to do is click on funding round materials, and it'll bring you to the NOFA, the RFP, and then there are admin plan questions based on the activity. So there's down payment assistance, manufactured home replacement, owner-occupied rehab, and then the CDOL application instructions, and those forms that you need are also here. When you go to log into CDOL, the link to log in is right here as well. Up above are the administrative plans. So we have more than you guys will need for the 3 activities that are being allowed, but these are the most up-to-date administrative plans with all the details of the program in it. So this is what you should be looking at. And then under our budget documents are the different budget worksheets that you would fill out and the home budget policy. So everything you need is right here on the website. I have a add-on question to the down payment assistance with rehab. It says, so if we are awarded a grant for down payment and rehab, could we use the grant for just down payment on some projects? Yes. So if your home is able to meet code at the time of purchase, you don't have to give rehab, but you would write the grant maybe kind of guesstimating how many houses you would have to provide rehab for, so you knew what the budget would be. Because if you don't use all the funds, they will be deobligated from your contract, and that might affect you if you apply in the following year under capacity and prior performance. Because if you know, but there is a way to explain that. So we have an explanation section under that question for experience and prior performance. So if you have a way to explain that and it's a valid reason, you know, we can make allowances for that. But in general, you want to make sure your budget is as tight as it can be. But yes, you don't have to, or no, you don't have to use money for every single one to be rehab. But it's there if needed. Oh, hang on. Another question. So should we not attach an expression of interest from a major leader, or I'm sorry, major lender to mortgage finance our grantees? No, if it's not asked for, I would not put it on there because it does not get you points one way or another. We, in the down payment assistance admin plan, HUD counseling from a HUD certified housing counselor is required. So we are assuming that in order to move forward with your down payment assistance program, that buyer has already gone through HUD housing counseling, which would cover all of the mortgage issues and make them mortgage ready and able to get a mortgage. Is it possible that there will be separate RFPs for home buyer development, LPA and CHOTO activities that have sometimes been RFPs in the past? I don't know. When do you think the legal department will finish the legal documents for the co-op? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. And let's see. So if we intend to offer up to $5,000 for small repairs to homes being purchased with down payment assistance, is this considered rehabilitation? So yes, I mean, for the purposes of the environmental review, it would be considered down payment with rehab. and you would want to write in for home funds to do that. If you have other sources of funds to do that $5,000, it's still considered rehab. So it's small rehab. There are ways that we can deal with that, but just as a general rule, yes. So I think that's all I have, all the questions I have for today. If you have other questions, you can send those to the OCR mailbox, which is here. I'm not sure. I tried to attach a PDF of this to this webinar. If not, I'm going to see if this recorded properly. We've been having some technical troubles in the past. But if this did record, I'm going to put it on the website along with a PDF of this webinar. And good luck, everyone. Thank you. We welcome your application, and we look forward to hearing from you. Everyone have a great day. Take care.